I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the tragic death and murder for hire of FSU law professor and loving father, Dan Markel, a man who just wanted to be a big part of his children's lives and as a result lost his life. Here's the story. Dan Markel, a respected Florida State University law professor and loving father, was gunned down execution style in his Tallahassee driveway in July of 2014. The motive, a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, who wanted to move their young sons to South Florida, where her family, the wealthy Adelsons, lived. When Markel blocked the relocation, prosecutors say the Adelson family crossed a dark line. Her brother, Charlie Adelson, a dentist, was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation for paying Katherine Magbanua, his former lover, who hired hitman Sigfredo Garcia, her former lover, and Luis Rivera to kill Dan Markel. Just 1 week after that conviction, Donna Adelson, Wendy's mother, was arrested at Miami Airport as she attempted to fly to Vietnam on a one-way ticket. She now faces identical charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation for allegedly orchestrating the hit alongside her son to force Dan Markel's death and guarantee custody relocation. The image of a matriarch gone rogue, once queen of her clan, is now submerged in betrayal, greed, and vengeance. Her trial is set for August of 2025. How does this even happen? Charlie Adelson's been convicted. The uncle of these children whose father was murdered. Murder for hire of someone for being a dad. That's why he was murdered, because he was a dad who wanted to be with his children and didn't want to let his children live so far away that he couldn't see them. That's why he was murdered. That was the motive. Charlie Adelson was convicted. Well, now Donna Adelson is being charged for orchestrating this along with her son. Now, let's talk about Wendi Adelson, right? Wendi Adelson is the mother of the children. She's testified for the prosecution, but has never been charged with anything in all of this. It's a bizarre case that's taken a decade to get to this point. I want you to take a listen to Wendi Adelson testifying at her brother's trial, talking about her mother and her mother's relationship. Take a listen.
Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were single?
I think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Okay. For example, isn't it true that she would not let you drive to and from Tallahassee to South Florida?
Well, I used to drive before I had the boys, but they were young, and she preferred to come with me and give me some extra support.
Did she micromanage? Let's not forget a big fact in all of this. Dan Markel, the victim, right? When Wendi decided to date him, it was Wendi and Donna who were looking at profiles on JDate and picked him out. By the way, she's involved. But here's our first question, and this whole relationship brings us to our first question tonight. Was Donna too involved in the custody battle, right? It's one thing you're involved in your daughter's life, micromanaging. Yeah, you should date him, you shouldn't date him, you shouldn't drive by yourself. But now she's in a custody battle about her children and Dan's children. Was she too involved in all of this? Here to help us answer all of that, mitigation specialist and defense investigator in Florida who worked for one of the convicted hitmen in all this, Luis Rivera. Monica Jordan is with us, and criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Tim Jansen. So glad to have you both here. I want to play a little piece from the defense open, and then to get this conversation going, because to me, this is also sort of eye-opening. Let's take a listen.
At one point in time, Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson came with an idea to pay Professor Markel $1 million to allow their daughter to relocate. And they went to Charlie, who frankly by this point in time had more money than them. And they said, will you lend your sister $1/3 of $1 million? She'll pay you back or we'll pay you back. And he said, sure. The idea wasn't to take the boys out of Professor Markel's life. The idea was that with the $1 million, if Professor Markel agreed, he could live in South Florida and commute back and forth to Tallahassee.
All right, let's bring back in our guests. Is this a... Monica, what's going on here? Is Donna too involved in this custody battle?
I believe so. And why should he have to give up his children for $1 million? I mean, he doesn't want to commute. He's the breadwinner. He's working as a professor at the Florida State Law School. Why does he have to uproot his life because she wants to be back in under her mother's thumb? So I absolutely believe that Donna was too involved in the marriage and in the divorce.
Tim, do you agree that she was all in it, and did it become personal for her, this battle against Dan Markel?
Good evening, Vinnie. Yeah, not only does she want to spend her money, she wants to spend Charlie's money. So Donna is a complete control freak, and being in prison is everything opposite of her life. She controlled Wendi. She tried to control Robert, the other son, who they're alienated now. And when you read the emails that she was involved with her daughter about having the kids dress up in Nazi uniforms and convert to Christianity just to try to get Dan to agree to custody and transfer, she was such a control freak. Wow.
Wow. Could you imagine? This is, and again, I go back to how Dan Markel, how they found him on J-Date. Like, she wanted her daughter to marry, someone else who is Jewish. And now all of a sudden, because she's so angry and controlling, she wants the kids to go to Christian school. She wants to put them in Nazi uniforms. It's insanity. Let's take a listen to some more of Wendi Adelson's testimony involving her mother.
What about the one where Dan Markel is asking that your mother not be permitted to have unsupervised visitation with the kids?
My mom never saw that because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. And my mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So there was nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed.
And when she laid all those options out in that email to you about other options that you could take to secure the relocation, as far as bribing, remember that? Converting the Christian children to Christianity, remember that suggestion?
I sure do.
Okay. What did she put in there that she viewed as your most non-negotiable and most important part of your divorce?
I don't know. Do you have something I can see? So you want me to read what she said here?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part
of the divorce for my mom?
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
Did your mom call Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him
Yes.
a narcissist?
Yes.
A bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes.
Bastard?
That I don't remember.
The question, Monica, is always like, how could someone be driven to murder? And it's, it's a leap. But we're looking and listening to this extreme involvement and these extreme actions that she's willing to take, $1 million, convert the kids. To me, it's not such a huge leap to her saying, hey, let's hire a hitman.
I don't disagree. She was losing control. Like Tim said, she was willing to spend not only their money, but Charlie's money. She was losing control. Dan was going to continue to fight them and bankrupt them. So I think it is an absolute, not a bridge too far for her to go from this divorce and trying to deal with the strategy of the divorce and instruct Wendi on how she should conduct the divorce and raise these children and all of these strategic little nuggets along the way, and then to make the leap to just eliminating him completely. To a rational person, this probably does seem like a bridge too far, but to somebody like Donna that was so used to the control, I think it was just the next step.
You know, Tim, the other thing here, I always believe that Dan was beating him. Right? Dan is beating them in court, and Donna just can't stand it. She knows that they're not going to win in front of a judge. They're not going to win in a courtroom. Dan's just not going to lose there.
Yeah, Dan knows in this community and in courts all across the country, judges try to make sure both parents have custody. They don't give one parent custody over the other. She clearly was desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. And Vinnie, she ostracized her older son because he fell in love with a non-Jewish person and would not agree and allow him to marry her. They broke up, and fortunately, he went back to the love of his life, and they're still ostracized because he was Jewish. She does not take no for an answer. And, you know, she's the person, the end justifies the means.
Well stated. Our guests are staying with us. Coming up next, how did the Katherine Magbanua love triangle impact the murder plot?
Did you have sexual relations with Sigfredo Garcia while dating Charlie Adelson?
Yes, I did.
Charlie didn't know that, right?
I mean, that's not something I would tell him.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins this August on Court TV.
Who came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel?
Charlie.
So Sigfredo Garcia didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Luis Rivera didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not. He got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
And did you know anybody that could harm someone?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was that?
Sigfredo.
That's Katherine Magbanua. She's sort of the one who brokered this murder-for-hire deal. Now, Charlie Adelson, the uncle of the kids who lost their father, the brother of Wendi Adelson, the son of Donna Adelson, he was involved sexually and in a relationship with Katherine Magbanua. The hitman that she mentioned, Sigfredo Garcia, is the father of her children, and she's involved with him as well. Take a listen to her talking about this love triangle.
By the way, when you dated Charlie Adelson, he thought you were broken up with Sigfredo Garcia, right?
I was broken up with him.
Well, did you have sexual relations with Sigfredo Garcia while dating Charlie Adelson?
Yes, I did.
Charlie didn't know that, right?
I mean, that's not something I would tell him.
Sigfredo hated Charlie.
I mean, yes.
You told Charlie on one occasion, if you see him, run. Isn't that what you told him?
Not that I can recall, no.
Is it possible that you told him that?
No, but he would be scared of Sigfredo, yes.
You agree that she always knows how to make you smile, and you say, I love you, to her. Remember that?
Yeah, I cared a lot about Katie. And
after you broke up with Katherine Magbanua a week after the murder, did you continue to talk to her?
We still communicated, for sure.
Talk on the phone?
And texted, yeah.
And meet up?
No, the only time I would see her was I saw her again the end of August. She came and picked up the money, and that's when she asked me if I could put her on the books because none of this money was going to her and she needed to get health insurance for her kids. So I said, yeah, I'll do it and help you out.
And did you continue to hook up with her after the breakup? And by that I mean, have sex with her.
There was one occasion. There was one time that we hooked up.
That brings us to the next question in our investigation. How did the Katherine Magbanua love triangle impact the murder plot? It's a bizarre situation. If you wrote a movie like this, people would say, well, no, why would you do that? That makes no sense. But the facts are what they are. Helping us with our investigation, Monica Jordan and Tim Jansen. Tim, what are your thoughts about the love triangle and how it impacted this murder plot?
Well, the story concocted by Charlie was just not believable. He had an answer for everything, except the fact that she came there and bribed him, blackmailed him, and then they slept together that night, and then they came back and had sex later on. He was worried. He couldn't call the cops. They believed, the Adelsons believed that there was a separation that they couldn't penetrate. But, organized crime usually have 5 or 6 layers of separation. Here they had one stripper, girlfriend, on and off lover was the separation. And once she got jammed, and it was really easy how FBI tied all the phone calls, it wasn't that much of a separation. Now, she didn't take the deal, the immunity deal that she was offered until after the 3rd trial where she's got life. Now she's trying to clean up her act, which, she might get a little sentence reduction, but she does fill in some key holes that the government needed.
Absolutely. Let's take a listen to a little piece of the defense opening. Again, this is from Charlie Adelson's trial about an incident between Sigfredo and Charlie.
Just 3 weeks or so after the first murder attempt, just 17 days before the murder. Let me repeat that. The murder happens on July 18, 2014. On July 1st, 2014, Sigfredo Garcia tries to run Charlie off the road. He threatens him.
Let me ask you, Monica, it seems kind of complicated to me what exactly is going on in this love triangle, and specifically the relationship between Sigfredo and Charlie. Do you believe they ever met each other? Do you believe that this incident happened where Sigfredo tried to kill Charlie?
I think that may have been embellished on the part of Dan Rashbaum. I mean, if Sigfredo wanted to kill Charlie, he would have, but he would have wanted to kill him because Sigfredo was still deeply, deeply in love with Katie. They shared those 2 children together, and I don't believe at the time when this idea was hatched to kill Dan Markel, I don't think Sigfredo understood it was going to be for the benefit of Charlie Adelson. So at that time, he didn't know. But, she is the conduit for all of this. Because without Katie, there's no way Charlie and Sigfredo and Luis Rivera ever would have crossed paths.
Tim, isn't this just bizarre that Charlie is hiring a hitman through the woman he's sleeping with, and the hitman is the man that the woman he's sleeping with is also sleeping with and is the father of the children? It's bizarre that there would be that type of complicating relationship in all of it. Why do you think that it worked out that way?
Well, violent criminals aren't necessarily the smartest criminals. And we know by how they did their rehearsal, they came up here a week or 2 weeks before and they ended up not finding him. They shot the gun in the car, put a hole in the car. Their tracks were not very good. But Katie was a necessary person because Katie was necessary for Charlie to find someone outside of his circle. And we go back to the control thing, right, Vinnie? Mama wanted it done. The doting son, oral surgeon making millions driving around in a Ferrari, did what Mama wanted. And he didn't take the proper precautions, and now he's sitting in prison for life.
Monica, what are your thoughts about Katie Magbanua? Why would she get involved in a murder plot?
Well, she thought she was going to land herself a dentist. So that was the first thing. I had said from day one when they picked her up, I never in a million years thought she would have lasted 3 weeks in the Leon County Detention Center. I thought she was going to roll on Sigfrido and Charlie and Wendi and the whole family, and I thought this was going to be wrapped up. The fact that she rode this loser horse all the way to the finish line just absolutely is mind-blowing. I never would have guessed that in a million years. I thought she would have turned and gotten herself a deal. And in fact, you know, the government did offer her a deal and she refused it. And now she's testifying truthfully, or, you know, a version of the truth, and it's to no benefit to her. She would have been better off never coming back and testifying at all. She's going to get no benefit from this.
It's unreal the way this is all developed. But the way you describe that, riding this loser horse all the way, that makes a lot of sense here. Monica Jordan, Tim Jansen, thank you so much for your help, and we'll be speaking a lot as this trial gets closer and closer. Up next, is Wendi connected to this murder plot? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the murder for hire of Dan Markel, a brilliant law professor and a loving father, murdered because he wanted to be there for his kids. This story is so tragic and his murder so cold-hearted. Here's the story. Wendi Adelson's marriage to Florida State law professor Dan Markel ended in 2013 in the middle of a brutal custody battle over their 2 young sons. She fought to relocate them to South Florida, only to be legally stopped by Markel. Prosecutors later argued the move was central to a chilling conspiracy. Wendi's brother, Charlie Adelson, arranged Markel's execution to remove the obstacle. Wendi cooperated with authorities, testifying under immunity in the trials of Katherine Magbanua and Sigfrido Garcia, and then her brother, Charlie Adelson. Shortly after Markel's death, she swiftly relocated to Miami with her boys, changed their last names, and legally cut off Markel's parents' access. Her testimony was combative, denying any awareness of the plot, while admitting her brother joked about hiring a hitman as a divorce gift. Wendi has never been charged and is expected to testify once again at the trial of her mother, Donna Adelson, who is facing the same charges her son Charlie was convicted of. So, Katherine Magbanua, we've been talking about her, the ex of Charlie Adelson, who was also involved with one of the hitmen. She was the conduit. She was the broker for this murder for hire plot. I want to show you a photo because I find this extremely interesting in this case. A photo on the beach. The woman on the right, not important. Not that she's not important, but not important to what I'm saying here. The woman in the middle is Wendi Adelson. If you look to her right, screen left, that's Katie Magbanua. Katie Magbanua, the one who arranged the murder of her ex. They're hanging together in their bikinis at the beach down in South Florida. How about that? That brings me to the next question in our investigation. Is Wendi connected to this murder plot? Here to help answer that question, Joel Waldman, host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast that has been all over this case from the beginning, and former prosecutor and defense counsel Carl Steinbeck. He's also the host of the Carl Steinbeck channel on YouTube, also deep into this case. Thank you both for being here. Before we begin the discussion, this witness I'm going to show you from, I think this is from Charlie's, so many trials, right? This is from Charlie Adelson's trial. Jeffrey Lacasse, a boyfriend of Wendi Adelson, obviously after the breakup of her marriage. He testified, jaw-dropping stuff. Let's take a listen.
When she called me back, she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday.
And Friday is going to be July 18th, right?
Yes.
And that's the date of the homicide?
That's exactly right.
What were her inquiries of you regarding that date?
I had a trip planned to Tennessee. She was aware that I was planning to leave about 11 a.m. On Friday. I need to get to Atlanta for an early dinner, so with traffic, she knew I was departing at 11. And at the yoga studio in the parking lot, she had asked if I was still going, if I didn't go, why not, what route I would be taking a lot of a bizarre amount of interest in that trip that didn't make sense to me at the time, given that she didn't want to spend time with me.
And how does it make sense to you now?
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
Wow. Joel Waldman, this to me was a moment like, oh my goodness. Like, it sounds, and he believes he was going to be set up to take the fall for the murder of Dan Markel.
Yeah, Vinny, we did a show on this today. We had pictures of Dan Markel, not about this specific aspect of the story, but about Dan, and someone commented, hey, he looks so much like Jeffrey Lacasse. It's almost like Wendi was trying to set him up. Vinny, I apologize because I logged on late, but today is a very important day. In the Jewish calendar, it is what is known as the yahrzeit for Dan Markel. It is the anniversary of his death. We did an entire show on it, and I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because we're always talking about the Adelsons, but I'm very much in touch with the Markel family. Phil Markel just lost his sister to horrible cancer, and they've been to hell and back, and this is the ripple effect of victimhood in these types of cases. But we're thinking about Dan today. We did a whole show on it, and to your point, Wendi is very enmeshed in this family, and, I think where there is smoke, there's fire, Vinny.
Let's take a listen now to some of Wendi's testimony, Carl, because this is another one of those jaw-dropping moments for a lot of people when you think about Wendi, who's never been charged with anything in this case. Let's take a listen.
Did you go to the crime scene or very near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
No, I did not.
So you never turned on Trescott Drive that day?
I went to turn on Trescott Drive, but I saw that it had been blocked off by some tape, and so I just kept driving on Centerville.
Okay, and when you had to turn around at the tape, right, to go back out?
I think I tried to turn right, and it couldn't turn, so I would have made like the kind of turn, like a K-turn, and kept going.
Was there a roadblock there with?
There was tape.
Yeah, and an officer was there?
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle? Okay, did you have any contact with the officer?
No.
Okay. Did you do anything after that to try to find out what was going on down that roadway?
No, I just assumed it was weather, or maybe a tree fell.
Had there been bad weather that day?
No, but it was summertime, and there's electrical storms and trees fall, so that would have been pretty normal for summertime.
Where were your kids supposed to be at the time that you encountered that roadblock?
They would have been at school.
And that's at the Creative Preschool?
That's right.
Who took them to preschool that day?
Danny.
And who was supposed to pick them up from preschool that day?
Me.
All right, so did you know for sure that they had made it to preschool that day at the time you encountered the roadblock?
I just assumed. I mean, if they hadn't made it to preschool, Danny would have let me know, but...
Did you attempt to call Dan Markel when you encountered the roadblock?
No, I didn't think anything of it.
All right, Carl Steinbeck, what are your thoughts about the drive-by, the crime scene where the road's blocked off, and all these questions for Jeffrey Lacasse about where are you going, when are you leaving, are you still driving, all of that. What are your thoughts about those two aspects of her conduct in all of this?
Yeah, they're really damning, Vinny. They really show that she had foreknowledge of what was happening that particular day. And she keeps changing her testimony also on how far she drove down Trescott. Dan's house is like over a mile away from that corner she's talking about, where she's in her latest testimony saying she never turned all the way down on Trescott. She just started to turn down, but then turned away from going down that street. So, and the reason she's trying to backtrack all the time is because her getting all the way up to the house and just being like a house away from Dan's house, there's crime scene across right next to his neighbors there, and there's all kinds of police vehicles, and she never even bothers to see what happened to her boys, let alone what's happening at that house. So these vehicles are in front of the driveway of Dan's house. They're out on the street. Obviously something seriously went on. This wasn't a fallen tree or anything like that, like she tries to claim. And then the way she engaged with Jeff Lacasse for dating for an 8-month period, Jeff Lacasse is very obvious he was set up as a fall guy. And that was very key for him to, for her to know about what he was doing that day that the hit was going down. Because like Jeff was saying, they've already broke up. So why are you concerned about where he's going to be on Friday morning? And like Jeff's saying, if he would not have changed his plans to leave a day earlier, he would have been a key suspect that possibly could have been the best defense that they had to say, see, it wasn't any of us Adelsons, it was Jeff Lacasse.
Yeah, that piece is extremely compelling when you think about it. If it's a similar car, right? The descriptions of cars are always a little vague. You know, it's a similar car at that time. Like, what is the deal with that time of day? Like, it's very specific. What route? Who cares what route you're taking? Like, nobody cares. Everyone's got GPS these days. You're going to take the route the GPS is going to tell you to take. Let me ask you, Joel, I was going to play the soundbite, but I don't even think I have to. A big part of this, like right from the beginning in her interrogation and every time afterwards, she always mentions that Charlie was joking about hiring a hitman as a divorce gift, right? Hiring a hitman to take care of, you know. Why did she volunteer that so quickly? Because to me, that's the one thing. Like, if you're actually involved, why would you say that if the hitman was actually hired, which is what the jury found?
I'll tell you who's asking that question more than anybody else is Charlie Adelson, because he and Donna Adelson are heard on Jailhouse Calls after Charlie's conviction. Charlie speaks with Donna the week following his conviction for something like 5 hours a day for 6 or 7 days until Donna tries to flee to Vietnam on that one-way ticket. And he brings it up. He's like, what was Wendi thinking? I mean, how would Wendi, you know, why would she even go there if she didn't, to Carl's point, have some sort of foreknowledge? It's almost like she is manipulating the entire situation and trying to throw her brother under the bus during that very first police interview. Now, Detective Craig Isom spoke to him for 5 or 6 hours. And one of the other things, apparently he debriefs her a little bit before they get to the police house. But if I've got 2 young kids and my ex-husband was just shot and killed and we don't know by who, I'm going to be terrified for my kids. I'm going to want to get out of there, get to my children. She shows none of that kind of concern. She is got a lot of crocodile tears, but seems to have some sort of foreknowledge about what had just happened.
Yeah, and again, she has not been charged with anything at any point. All right, great news. Joel and Carl are going to stay with us. Still to come, what does Donna's behavior after getting arrested reveal?
Try to drink some more water? No? Okay.
Ryan Kohberger accepted a plea offer.
A shocking turn of events.
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Convicted killer Brian Koberger will learn his fate for murdering 4 Idaho college students.
He is the boogeyman.
And come face to face with the families of his victims.
I pray that we have justice.
The sentencing of Brian Koberger. Live coverage begins Wednesday morning, only on Court TV.
I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to? This way it's your Why do I have to give it to
you? All right, that is the moment that Donna Adelson was taken into custody at the airport. She had a one-way ticket to Vietnam. Prosecutors are going to argue that she was fleeing the country. She's claiming they were just going on vacation. They didn't know exactly when they were coming back. That was right after her son, Charlie Adelson, got convicted of the murder, and then she was the next one up. That was on November 13th. I want you to take a look at what happened 1 week later when she was being transported from South Florida, where she was arrested, up to Leon County in Tallahassee, where she was being held and will be tried. Take a look at this video, much different.
You want to try to drink some more water? No? Okay. We have EMS on the way to check there. Come and take a look at you, okay?
Yeah, she said she's not cold.
Okay.
Yeah, she just had this hands just kind of locked up on her.
Okay.
For no reason, but they kind of loosening her up now. I feel the little tension release. You feel the tension release there, Ms. Adelson? I feel it. And some anxiety and stuff.
You're right. I can take that.
A much different Donna Adelson brings us to the final question in our investigation. Let's take a look. What does Donna's behavior after getting arrested reveal? Still with us, helping us tonight with our investigation, Joel Waldman and Carl Steinbeck. Carl, what are your thoughts about that moment where she's being transported and she seems so different? Is she putting on a show? You think that's legit? What's going on there? What does it reveal to you?
I think some of the reality's setting in, but I do think she's putting on a show. I think this is a stunt she's trying to pull off here. Maybe she can act like she needs immediate medical care, so maybe she can be diverted to a hospital and maybe come up with a way to stay in Miami. So I think she's all about acting and being defiant even to this day.
Joel, what are you seeing from Donna Adelson here?
You know, we debated it on the show, and I have to say, I think there is a bit of actual anxiety, panic. I'm not a therapist, obviously, but I think she's freaking out. To Carl's point, she was realizing the seriousness of the moment, but not for 1 second don't think that she is not manipulative and trying to somehow coerce these guards who are treating her so respectfully to maybe keep her, as Carl just said, in Miami or divert her somewhere else, anything to avoid going to Tallahassee, which is the thick irony in all of this, because this all stems from the fact that Donna, the matriarch, did not want her grandchildren growing up in Tallahassee. Now, apparently, her husband is renting a place up there so he can go visit her in jail. And once she got to jail, things got worse for her. It was just one complaint after the next. Things got so bad that they had to put her in solitary. And she's now in a separate facility outside of Leon County in Wakulla. So it has been a rough road for her inside of jail. And I think she's just praying that she sees the light of day. Unfortunately, that is likely not going to be in her deck of cards.
Yeah, well, so one thing we've talked about with her, right, wanting to control everything. She's a very controlling person, right, in the family, and trying to control her children and her grandchildren and everything around her. Let me ask you, Carl, what are your thoughts about her trial? Her son testified at his trial. Didn't work out well for Charlie. Do you think that Donna is going to want to control the narrative by taking the stand to tell her story to the jury?
Absolutely. I think she's thinking that's going to be her ticket home, is that they're going to believe her, and she thinks she's such a good actor. But I think that she's going to find out once this judge denies her request, once they go through jury selection, they're going to deny the request to have the change of venue. Then I think reality is really going to kick in. It's like, you know what? I got the same kind of Tallahassee jury that Charlie did, and it worked out really bad for him. And I already see signs that her her attorneys already have what I call Donna fatigue, because they seem to be very low energy right now. They seem like they're feeling a lot of emotions, but they seem to be very much like they're beaten down of sorts. And so I just see them as realizing that this is going to end up in a conviction just like Charlie.
Is there any chance, Joel, that and I always thought from the beginning the only chance that the Adelsons have is if one would fall on the sword and take the rap for the others. Do you see that happening here? Any chance that Charlie takes the rap, or she takes the rap and proclaims Charlie's innocence?
Honestly, I don't. We've talked about every possible scenario. And by the way, Carl's a good friend, and he's been on my show. He did 100 Reasons to Indict Wendi, so he certainly thinks that she's the next domino to fall. Not everybody thinks that. But in terms of flipping, right now there is so much animus and anger that I see from Donna and Charlie towards Wendi. I don't think Donna's ever going to flip on her daughter, but would Charlie flip on his sister? Potentially. What's in it for him? He's already convicted with a life sentence. I don't know, but maybe there's a deal for him to work out with Georgia Kappelman, the prosecutor of the year in Florida, who is going to prosecute this case. She is a pit bull, and I mean that with all due respect. Her dad played quarterback at FSU, comes from a very competitive spirit. She is amazing, and she does not like Wendi Adelson. I'll go out and say that publicly, and I think she wants Wendi next. So
all right.
I'm with Carl. I think they're going after her.
Joel Waldman, Carl Steinbeck, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now, if prosecutors have this right, and Donna Adelson helped mastermind the murder of her grandchildren's father, she is the worst grandmother ever. To rob two boys of the most important man in their lives is unthinkable and unforgivable. Now the question is, can prosecutors prove Donna Adelson is that cold-hearted? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.